How you doing?
I'm good, girl. Got on my Beauty Life lipstick.
Yes. Me
Yes,
too.
honey. Of course, I have to give you your props as an amazing businesswoman because, I'm a
Yeah.
consumer. I love my coffee scrub, honey.
Yes.
Okay. I
Trying
use
to
it
make
religiously. And I love my Beauty Life lipstick.
period. That new.
It's everything. Okay. So, I just want to just kind of go through again why we are here, which is really simple. And it really is just to share with other people um, that those of us who are in any type of leadership role or even not in leadership role, it doesn't really matter. But if you have a business, leadership, whatever the case may be, it's really just to show other people that, you know, we all go through things. And I think it's very, very necessary and helpful for us, especially as a body of believers, to start having these open and honest conversations about what we are going through, things that we may cannot talk about in the church, or
Right.
things that we may not even be comfortable with talking about. But I really want to, like I shared last week, God just really has encouraged me to use the small platform that I do have to really just be a help to people. And
Right.
so I am so grateful that you have decided to join me and just, just helping just kind of push this vision that the Lord has just laid on me. And so I just want to, thank you for that openly, and to really just go ahead and open up the floor to, whatever it is that you want to share. Obviously, I'm here to support and I'll be asking questions along the way, but I'm just going to go ahead and open up the floor for you.
Um. Well, it's so many things that we could talk about, but I mean it's important to try to talk about what you've overcome and then also where you are currently. Um.
My,
And so,
my.
for those who don't know me, hey guys, I am Loreal Pride. Um.
Yes.
I've been a full time entrepreneur for the last 4 years, a little over 4 years, and so I'm in the beauty industry. I'm in the marketing industry, and so that is what I do full time: makeup, skincare, marketing, and I'm also in ministry now at the Rock Family Worship Center. I dance, and I'm part of the young adult leadership team.
Yes.
Me and my husband. So that's just a little bit of backstory, but I know me and Ashley have known each other for some years.
A long time.
And to our previous church home, and now we're at the Rock. And then when she told me this idea, I was like, "Yeah, I'm here for it. Let's do it." Because we don't just talk openly.
We don't.
About what we have going on, maybe because of fear of judgment or wanting to have this perfect image, so we don't want to taint what that looks like or whatever the case may be. And I know I get that a lot as being someone in the beauty industry, or whatever. It's like, this is what you put out and that's it. And you don't really give people room to see other flaws. But the word says we are come by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. So we have to be open to sharing parts of our lives that may not be so pretty.
Absolutely.
I've been through many things, and so we don't have time to talk about everything today. But today I just want to encourage people who are maybe in a space of just like, because this pandemic and this everything that's going on, the COVID, the racial tension, I know a lot of us have just been like, what's going on? Where am I? I've talked to a lot of believers, and they've done one or two things. They have gotten close to God, or they have totally faded away.
Mm-hmm.
It has not been a lot of middle ground.
Right.
And like one or the other, like I'm pulling on the Lord right now, or I have just faded into something that I know I don't even, I thought I was done with. And so I just just want to come on here and kind of be open about even where I've been in that space. When it first happened, I didn't even take the pandemic that seriously. I was like, oh, this will be done in about a couple weeks, whatever the case may be. And now here we are, September, and we still have the weightiness of this going on, along with other things that now have happened.
Right.
So it's been a transition. My husband and I were going to do our 1 year anniversary, our big wedding, because we didn't do a big wedding. We kept it very, very intimate when we first got married. And so that got canceled because of COVID. That was going to happen in May. And so now we're like, okay, we it's happening in May 2021, but we don't even know, so we're literally walking by faith. With every single season, everything that we have going on, business, whatever. So I think that one, we can just understand that we all are in this together. We all are a unified body that's walking through this together, trying to figure it out. And the pressure of putting pressure on people to check on you. That don't really have nothing to do with what I want to say, but I just want to put that out there. Like, don't. And I understand we have to use a measure of judgment, but don't put this pressure on your friends and your associates and your family or whatever to well, I ain't heard from them. And we all are in the midst of a pandemic of other things in regular life. So that don't make them a bad person or a bad friend because you ain't heard from them the last couple of weeks. Like, they trying to figure their own stuff out. And so I just want us to have a little more grace for each other. And to not be pointing the finger at who ain't check on who. And come on. If God puts somebody on your heart, reach out to them in that moment, because you will forget because we're busy. But let's not put that pressure on each other.
I really want you. Yeah, I really want you to kind of talk about that, just as far as even the whole friendship thing. I know for me personally, I don't. I can't say I've had bad friendships. I don't want to go that far, but friendship has always been this really iffy thing for me, to where I think me personally, and I don't talk about this often, but one of the things that unfortunately that you and I have in common is that we both lost our mothers. And I lost my mother at a very young age. I was 7 years old. And of course, her death had more impact on my future self than it did on when I was a young child. And I say that because my mom was murdered, and she was murdered by her so-called best friend. She was set up. And what that did to me, and for my future self, why I said it had more impact on my future self is because I did not trust females after that. It was extremely hard for me to trust females, and I did not do it for years. I literally had two friends, probably for I know for sure over a decade. I only had two friends. And even when I did start to open up my heart and make friends, it did not go like I planned for it to go. And so I just want you to talk about, how are you with your friendships? Because I hear you talking about, as far as giving people grace to check on, how are you with your friendships?
I'm so glad you brought that up, because what I want to hit on was that we talk about being being young, being married, friendship, and business. So we'll just lean right in. Friendship for me has been, ironically, a very tricky thing as well. Partially because of my own trust issues, I believe, and partially because of the personality that I have. It's very much so take it or leave it. And I'm okay with that, because I know that is who God has called me to be. That's who He needs me to be in the kingdom. I don't have to try to be like anybody else. When I do try to be like someone else, it feels funny, and that's a whole nother subject. It's unnecessary. So I have always been the one that's always had a best friend, or somebody that's just ride or die. But I've always been the homegirl that had guy friends.
Okay.
I have always been the one to have more male friends, and that's probably what kept me out of a lot of trouble, to be honest, if we can just tell the truth. It kept me from sleeping around. It kept me from doing all this, doing too much, because I really genuinely had friends that were guys a lot. So I had a couple of female friends, but I never was a part of a girl gang. I never had a squad until my adulthood. friends, in the last years. But growing up in high school, even college, that wasn't my thing. Mm. And it made me feel a way for a long time that it was solely me, that I was the issue, that I wasn't relatable, or I wasn't, friendly enough, or whatever the case may be. I put this weight on myself, like, Lo, you gonna have to change, because you the only one that ain't got a girl squad, and it wasn't until, like I said, until the past years where I got one, and I have to realize that it wasn't just me. Now, of course, we all got some things that we can do. We can be better friends. We can be more selfless. We can be more serving. We can be whatever. But it really, it really was a combination of things. It was a combination of, like I said, my trust issues, and then it was also me not understanding how to walk in my power and be a friend to a group of girls without feeling like I had to dim my light, and without them feeling like she doing too much. Wow. I'm not really. She thinks she all, she, and I'm not big talk about haters, and I hate that word, but it's just so, it's just used so much. But like, it was always that energy. Like, I don't want to do too much, but then I feel like people already feel like I did too much, so just don't worry about it. I'm gonna just hang out with guys. They less messy. They less. Taking my, taking my. I created a mentality where some of this was preconceived notions that probably weren't true. Some of it was true, but because I just said, you know what, it's just easier for me to just hang out with guys, and that was a lie from the enemy, because he knew that the call on my life was for women. Yeah. That I would be in an industry where I'm 24/7, mostly around women. I don't deal with a lot of men in my industry at all. I don't deal with a lot of men in ministry at all. And so it was his assignment to try to get me wrapped up with these preconceived notions and these lies. Only a small percentage of stuff was the truth. For me to walk my whole life out being the home girl, being the one that didn't really have a girl squad, a girlfriend, other than one or two best friends my whole life, because he knew that if I could just get her not to trust women, not to really rock with women, not to really be, that one, then I could probably stop her from walking in purpose. Glory be to God, that's not what happened. But that was the trail that I was on. And so God had to snatch me from what I really went to school for, to put me in a beauty industry that I didn't even think about doing. This ain't something I wanted to do since I was 10 years old. Wow. This is something that happened towards the end of my college career. And I said, okay, this is interesting, but I love it. I love women's empowerment. I'm loving this beauty thing. So God put me in an industry and a career that I would be forced to deal with the people that I didn't think I could ever really vibe with.
Wow. I love, like, really, in essence, what you said is there is such a bigger picture, when you're looking at, oh, it's just, it's just friendship, whatever. I'm just going to kind of isolate myself, be by myself, or just, have my guy friends, or whatever the case may be. But not knowing that your connections literally mean everything. Like, we are made to be interconnected with people, and it is honestly, how we continue to push God's agenda and to operate in our purpose, because we absolutely need relationships. And I think it comes a time where we have to really just kind of continue to take risk, because as I think about, how is it that, honestly, even if I share even part of some of the things that I've gone through with friendships, people are probably like, why do you even still try? Like, why are you even, you know what I'm saying? But just like we take risks with everything else, we take risk, doing things that we don't have no business doing, and we still do it. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like, because I know that God has called us to be interconnected and to have relationships with people, regardless of how, introverted you are. Because a lot of people don't believe I'm actually way more introverted than I am extroverted. I don't necessarily, like, I'm not going to sign up to be around people. It's hard for me to just make these, like, random conversations with people. Like, naturally, I'm, like, to myself. You know what I'm saying? But no matter how introverted, somebody may be, we are still all called to need one another in one way or another. And I know, so for me personally, I have had to just continue to take the risk. Of course, a calculated risk. You don't want to just be out here doing whatever, and letting your guard down when you know something is off. You know what I'm saying? But it's all a risk, in any type of relationship, friendship, personal, husband, wife, whatever the case may be. It's all a risk when you are putting yourself on the line to say, okay, I'm gonna at least try, you know,
I look,
and see where
it
it comes out.
really is. But like you said, God gives us wisdom. He gives us discernment. He gives us all the tools we need to navigate to make a calculated risk.
Yes,
However, risk is really just faith.
that's it.
It's just faith. So it's like, God, I'm going to trust you. And I believe we really don't always pray about friendships like we do other things because we feel like, well, they're just people. It's a woman. We agree on some things. Surely this could work. We don't take it as seriously as a business partnership or who we're going to marry, or a romantic relationship or whatever. It's like, as friends, like we treat it like this little lackadaisical thing sometimes. Like, that's my new BFF. But if we really went to God, like, okay, I'm going to have faith in you for this new relationship because I want to be a friend and I want to receive friendship.
Yeah.
Give me wisdom, give me discernment, help me walk through this thing, help me be good on my end. If we went into friendships a little more, I think, seriously, then we would probably not get dropped as much, or we probably wouldn't do the dropping because sometimes we become the person that can't be trustworthy. We become the person that dropped the ball, that did whatever, because there really wasn't somebody that we were supposed to be that connected to anyway. So it just wasn't. It didn't feel worth it.
Yeah.
And so I think when I say current, I mean current. It's heartbreaking to think about having to disconnect from certain relationships and friendships. But when you know God is taking you into a new season, you have to be obedient and trust that who's going to meet you there, who He has for you, is going to be exactly what you need where you are.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone that's been in your life is not necessarily going to be able to service you for where you're going. And it's okay. And a lot of, listen, we do not have to play the cutoff game. We don't have to make phone calls and send emails to people like, you know what, I know we've been rocking since whatever, but I'm done with this. Literally fall off, just like leaves do in seasons. God will that thing will dismantle itself, and then new things will grow. If you can have the same friendship for 20 years, but y'all's relationship is still gonna, switch out throughout the seasons. Or it could be no more of those friends. God gives you new friends. But it's not like you have to be like, I'm cutting people off. That thing will fall off. Mm-hmm. It will dismantle organically because it just won't be the same. Where you're going, they'll feel uncomfortable with even trying to make it work. And so I'm being intentional and praying to God about who I need to be to people and where I need to place them in my life right now so that I manage them well and so that they manage me as best as they can to their capacity. I cannot expect people to be something for me that they really don't have the capacity to be. Now, that's not them, but I have to see God about their capacity for who I am to them.
It's so much that I want to say about that because oh my goodness, that. So here's the thing. I've been on both ends of the spectrum. I've been the friend that had to do the cutting off, and I've been the friend who has been cut off. And honestly, it doesn't feel good on either side. But what I will say is, for me personally, the side that hurt me the worst is when I had to be cut off.
Yeah.
And even like most of the times that the friendships that I have had in the past that have ended, I literally did not understand. I did not understand why at the time. I was building a relationship with someone where I thought it was going very well, and then suddenly she said that God told her we were not supposed to be friends, and God didn't tell me that. But I have to be very careful when people say God told me. I'm very careful with trying to rebut that because I try not to, get in somebody else's personal relationship with God. If you said God told you that, then hey, God told you that. I can't rebut that. But that was hurtful. And then I've been in a friendship where she just stopped talking to me. I'm like, yo, okay, what? Like nothing happened. There was no big dramatic fallout. Like we were good one day and then we weren't the next day, and it was like, Okay. And
What?
then I also got to that point, L'Oreal, where I was like, okay, well, something wrong with me.
Yeah,
Like maybe I need to like tone it down a little bit, or maybe I'm not doing a great job. Maybe, okay, I'm not reaching out enough, or maybe I'm not, like, literally just going through all of these things of like what could have went wrong.
wrong.
And
Yeah,
sometimes you are correct. Sometimes it may be a capacity issue to where either one, maybe you don't have the capacity to keep up where they're going, or they don't have the capacity to keep up to where you're going, and it just naturally falls off. But neither side feels good when you are connected to someone. And dare I even say that it could be soul ties. Sometimes we just kind of look at soul ties where it's just like
words
between
out my mouth.
we kind of look at soul ties like it's just between somebody you previously had sex with. And no, like if your soul is like literally like tied to somebody else, or you have been in close relationship with someone, you have shared intimate parts of your heart with
Yes,
someone, it could absolutely be a soul tie. And like you said, we don't take the time to actually pray for, Lord, is that person supposed to be in my life? Or even, Lord, and which my thing is, Lord, okay, show me, who am I supposed to be in their life? How can I push the purpose that you have given on the inside of them? How can I push them further into that? How can I help them? How can I build them? I need you to show me, because that type of stuff is important. Sometimes we only look at it from that perspective when it comes to marriage. But no,
yeah,
no, 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 no. You need to be looking at that perspective when it comes to friendships as well, because those relationships, you never know until you pray why God has somebody in your life, and what type of things you guys are supposed to be doing together, what type of help you're supposed to be providing other people, what type of opportunities that God has for you based on the connections that you have. And so I agree. I think it's super important that before you jump into any type of relationship, not just romantic but friendships, asking the Lord, is this person for me? And if so, why am I here in their life? Show me so that I
yeah.
can be that for them.
And I remember I had a friend in college, one of the couple of girlfriends I really had. And this was traumatizing for me. I know that I really did. I didn't think it was a big deal, but I really did hurt her feelings. And so that was deep for her. It was deeply rooted, and she did cut me off. And it made me feel a lot of ways. So one, I was like, I didn't know if they're serious. But in that moment, and in hindsight, I had to look back and say, okay, it doesn't matter. It's like when we hurt people, we don't get to decide how it affects them. Just like when people hurt us,
So
they don't
good.
get to decide how it affects us. And I had to realize I hurt her. I dropped the ball on our friendship. She don't want me in that space. Now we still cool, but it's no more BFF type situation. And I had to realize, okay, you're not always gonna be the victim. Sometimes you're gonna be the one, the villain, for lack of better terms. You know what I'm saying? And when that happens, you have to take that situation,
Yeah.
not be so ready to be like pointing the finger, oh, they was tripping, or whatever the case may be, they skin not tough enough. We have to be introspective sometimes. And that was hard for me. I had to look at myself and say, okay, you might have not thought it was a big deal, but you dropped the ball. It is what it is for her. She don't want this. She wants separation. That's fine. But it also, it did two things. It showed me that if I ever have to be the one to, kind of break something off, to make sure I do it with as much grace and love as possible, because it hurts when it's not done like that.
Yeah.
And it also showed me to make sure that I honor my female friendships well. That, hey, just because you're this amazing person and you have all these great qualities, it don't make you a good friend. And the Bible says that the man who wants a friend has to be a friend.
That's
And
it.
so that situation taught me, hey, honor your women friendships better. Secondly, you don't get to determine how something hurts somebody, how they are affected by it. And lastly, humble yourself. And when you have to be the one to cut somebody off, do it in grace and do it in love. So I learned a lot from that situation, and I think now I pride myself on being a good friend. But that came from years of not having friends, of just a lot of up and down and lessons being learned. And so friendship is interesting topic for me. So I'm glad we got to touch on that.
Yeah. Speaking of, do you think your experiences with friends, good or bad, do you think it has shaped you in your marriage in any way?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I would be naive to think otherwise. um, how so though? I believe that my friendships, well, for one, because I'm friends with my husband. Like, that is my friend. Mm-hmm. That is not just my lover. That is my best friend. We tell each other everything. We intentionally don't leave room for darkness and secrets. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which is something that you can't necessarily command from a friend, but I can require that from my husband.
Because you got to live with him, okay? We got to see each other every day.
So yeah, we don't leave room for secrecy. And I'm very blunt with anybody. So I'm blunt in my marriage. I'm blunt with Dante, and our personalities are night and day, but we balance each other out really well. And I think that's important to not. I've realized because it's important to not have friends that are just like you all the time. You know, you're gonna have somebody that's like you, and that's what's gonna bring y'all together. But it's also what's gonna make y'all bump heads sometimes. Right. And so I didn't want to marry someone who was just like me. Because though it may have been cute at first, all the same interests, all the same personality traits, whatever, over time we would have been annoyed with each other. Mm-hmm. And, you know, and so that's one thing that I know I've taken into my marriage that I learned from friendships. My husband really shouldn't be just like me, or this is in the long run, this is not gonna turn out well. It's just not, you know. But like I said, we don't leave room for secrecy and darkness. As much as possible, we tell each other everything. It's just a very it's what I would want from my female friendships without the romance. But right. You know, but I really try my best to honor him well, and I appreciate him when he checks me. Because I can appreciate a checking from a female as long as you tell me and don't talk to me like I'm your child. Mm-hmm. Now, we're not gonna do that. Mm-hmm. But but I can appreciate and respect the checking because that means you love me. Yeah. You know, when you correct me, that means you love me. And so he loves me. He wants this marriage to work, so we have to check each other. And it's the same way with friendship. Loreal, hold on. Because I'm about to flip the chair over. Because, no, like, for real. And I feel like I'm getting teary-eyed even talking about it because I have been so passionate about that lately when people say things like, oh, you need to say things out of love. And I'm always a little curious when I hear people say that because I'm like, okay, let me kind of dig a little deeper. What does that mean? What does it mean when somebody say things out of love? Because most of the time, from my experience, when people say things like that, they say it like you are supposed to speak very meek and mild, very soft-spoken. Yeah. And I don't think that we as a body of believers who are supposed to be in our word, glory to God, like we don't take this and actually apply this, because if we did, we would understand that Jesus did a lot of things out of love and it was real cutthroat. You know, when the Bible like when somebody disciplines or corrects you, mm-hmm. that is love. And it may not always come out pretty. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not giving anybody a pass to just be flat out mean, rude, nasty. You know, no, that's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is if I see my friend mm-hmm. getting ready to head into a ditch, mm-hmm. I'm not gonna say, Loreal, you might wanna stop that. And you going full fledged, finna go right into the ditch, and I see it, but you don't. And I'm just gonna be like, oh, but Loreal, that ditch is gonna hurt. You know, no, I'm Loreal, stop. You know, like it's not going to sound pretty all the time. And I think sometimes we misconstrue that, like when we are in relationship with people, and quite frankly, sometimes even when you're not in relationship with people, if you trust the God in somebody,
to correct you, then I think sometimes we really need to check why is it that we became offended. Because it may be because we're not willing to let that thing go. We're not willing to let go the trust issues. We're not willing to let go the hatred. We're not willing to let go of the bitterness and the offense that we have towards somebody. And because we're not willing to let it go, I don't want to hear it from you. And I'm not going to accept it from you. So you're not speaking to me in love. And that's not the case. That's not the case, because you can look at any example of how Jesus loved people when he was here on earth, and I can guarantee you some of the stuff that he said, you would probably be super offended at some of the things that Jesus said to people. I mean,
Yeah.
Jesus flat out called a lady a dog. And but she rebutted back with the word. But anyway, we ain't gonna get into that. But I'm glad that you I'm glad that you said that, because when we are in relationship, we can't run when it's time for somebody
Yeah.
to check us, to say, hey, no, sis, that was not right. Bro, I don't know what you were thinking when you did that, but you need to reel it on back.
And it's 2 points with that, because I'm so glad you said that, because it's, for one, like you said, we need to check ourselves and see why we got so offended at what was said. If it's something that we're not willing to give up, but then also we also need to, if you're not going to trust what someone has to say, don't have them in that position in your life. If you're not going to trust what I'm offering you, why am I here in this place? If you don't want to hear what I gotta say, then you need, we can just kind of be associates, and then you don't have to worry about me divulging so much of my opinion or the word of the Lord on your life. If you don't trust me, then don't put me there.
Whoa.
You know what I'm saying? Because if I'm gonna be here, then let me honor the position that I'm in.
Ooh.
And it's the same way in marriage. If you gonna disrespect your husband or your wife, why you got them there? You put them in the position with the trust, with the loyalty, with the honor. They're expecting that. And when that is mismanaged, you got somebody in the wrong spot.
So good.
Like,
so good.
Tell me where you really want me to be.
Yeah, like, because if you're looking for a yes man and you're looking for somebody to pacify you all the time, then honestly, I don't think that person is fulfilling the role that they need to be in, because one of the roles of friendship is to build up. And you can't build anybody up, or relationship, period. You can't build anybody up without correcting them sometimes on the way up. You're gonna need correcting. You're gonna, you know what I'm saying?
It's just like parenting.
Yes.
I mean, rather I spoiled it. Like, you cannot raise a child without correction. Every relationship renders a level of correction. You get the most correction from childhood to adolescence to young adult to adulthood, whatever the case may be. But in every relationship, there's a level of correction that has to happen for like you said, for building to take place. Like, it's literally, it only makes sense. It's inevitable. And so if there is no correction at that point, that's when I get nervous. If you are my spiritual leader, or if you are my professor, or if you are whatever position you have that's over me, if you never correct me, if it's always praise coming from you as it pertains to me, eventually that's gonna wear off, and I'm gonna get tired of the compliments, to be quite honest, and I'm gonna look for, but what can I fix? What can I be doing better? Because at this point, you haven't corrected me, so now I'm worried. Do you really care about my building, or do you want to keep me celebrated at this level? Don't celebrate me down here. I'm trying to get here, so I really don't need the applause. I'm gonna get that. I need the correction.
Oh, so good. And
watch people that celebrate you so much,
but they don't.
And that's all they got.
Yeah. So good. And can we just point out that it looks different. Like correction looks different for different people. So
Yeah.
like, my husband, for example, of the two of us, my husband is not as forward as I am, and so when I do something and he's like, okay, like my husband has like mastered this way of letting me have my space. Like he will there'll be so many times he'll be like, okay, I'm not gonna argue. All right. Like, and it would make me so mad. But in that moment, it's like when I have time to think, I'm like, man, like he really just made me feel bad. He made me feel so bad. And then there are other times where he'll be like, no, no, Ashley, no, not okay. No, that's not okay. You need to fix that. But it looks different for everybody. Like if I have to correct my husband with something, my way looks a little bit more
Yeah.
aggressive, to where sometimes, if I can be honest, I've had to come behind myself and say, okay, I apologize, because I never want my correction to be so harsh to where you don't receive it at all, you know. So,
Yeah.
and you kind of have to know the people that you are in relationship with. But
And what I've had to learn is the timing.
yes, absolutely.
Because it would be the right thing.
Let me find
Literally,
that
I know
scripture.
I knows I'm right, but if I and so this is something that I'm happy I'm mastering. Like year one, that's the biggest thing I learned with our communication is my timing. Um, it could be totally correct, but if I say it at just the wrong time, he's not receiving it. He giving me pushback, or he's just ignoring me altogether. Either one will frustrate me. So I had to learn. Okay, let's figure out when is a good time to throw this in there. Remember it, pinpoint it, and put it, and just whisper it in his ear, or say it over dinner, or say it after sex. I mean, let's be honest, or what timing is fine. Say it at a good time so that he receives it and that reconciliation can happen, or whatever the case may be.
I definitely agree. I was trying to look for the script. It's a scripture in Proverbs that actually support that. I can't find it right now. But you're so correct. Timing, it's absolutely everything. You can receive a correction and then the person may not be mentally ready to have it, you
Right.
know. And so you do have to be very cognizant of that, and that takes time, like in relationship, when you're learning people, you're learning their mannerisms, that you're learning their ways, you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
but never get to a place where you let too much time go by as well.
Yeah.
And then you let fear kind of set in with, oh, I really hope that don't offend them. Because truth be told, anytime you have to correct somebody, like I I mean, I don't know about you, but like correction never feels good to me. Like I know it's good for me, but in the moment when I'm being corrected, it don't feel good. But I just, yeah, girls, and for me, I one way that friendship, my me not even knowing how to have a friend, how that kind of crept into my marriage was, I used to be really a hot mess. I don't even know what other words like to say. Like, I mean, I used to be so snappy with my husband, like because it was like I was projecting like all of my anger on him. I didn't have, at the time, like I didn't have, girlfriends to talk about certain things, and so he got all of it. He got the good, bad, the ugly, like everything, and he's like, hold on. So
But God graced him for it.
yes.
He
Oh, he
was able
did.
to walk through those seasons with you until you got to a more healed place.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing I want to say. I started to make a post about this. Is that people, I'm really sick of this preconceived notion that you can't get married until you are 100% healed. Because for one, that doesn't exist. 100,
No.
whatever that means, because we are continually evolving, growing, uprooting trauma from our childhood, getting healing. Like we are constantly doing that. And so, yes, I agree that you should not go into a marriage in a season where you are totally, broken and dismantled and don't have any plans for yourself before you get connected with somebody, have your own goals. Like I agree with all of that. But to try to paint this picture, and we do it in church, really,
Yeah.
the wholeness, before you get a man and before you do all this type of stuff, it's just a false expectation because you are going to get together and living with somebody is going to show you parts of yourself that you didn't even realize, or it's going to magnify what you knew a little bit, so it's like you're going to go through another era of of wholeness or whatever. So I just want to get that out of people's heads, like I'm not worthy or I'm not ready because I'm not fully healed, because I don't even know what that means. You know what I'm saying? But I just want people to know, yes, don't go into a situation where you're leaning on that person to give you identity, but understand that you can go into a marriage and continue to grow and continue to evolve and continue to get healing. The thing is to make sure that you're in it with somebody who's wanting to walk through growth with you. Yeah. As long as your partner is like, hey, I'm in this with you. I want us both to be better people on the other side of this to make each other better. You're qualified to get married.
And dare I say that even before you get married, the friendships that you have is, I don't even want to say it's a test, but it is a way for you to learn certain skills that you will need in marriage. And so I think it's really important that you, like, if you're not married and you're desiring marriage, that you really take a look at the friendships that you already have and really evaluate what kind of person, what kind of friend you have been to that person. Because while it's not going to be in a romantic aspect like you said, but some of the skills that you work on in a regular friendship is communication. It's honesty, it's trusting. Do you have any of those? Because those are things that will prepare you for a marriage, because your spouse is absolutely supposed to be a friend to you. I once heard somebody say, I don't see it why people say that their spouses are their best friends. A spouse can't be your best friend. That's not true for my life. My spouse is absolutely my best friend. He is absolutely my best friend. And before we were ever married, we were friends. I've been with this man since I was 19 years old. So we were friends, legitimate friends before we got married and before we dated. And so I think that it's important that we even, if you're single and you want to be married, you really need to evaluate what kind of friend you are right now, because you're going to need to implement those same characteristics, those same skills, hopefully they're good, into your marriage. And if they're not, then that's something that you need to work on. But I absolutely,
and that's a good alarm to kind of set off for yourself, like, if I don't have any friends, maybe I shouldn't get married right now, because you're literally going to put everything on him to be everything that nobody else is for you right now.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
So I can't say it didn't, like, so for us, praise the Lord. It did work. It has worked. You know what I'm saying? We have a wonderful marriage, but that's what I did. I didn't have friends, and so I projected all of that on him, and that's too much weight for anyone. It's too much weight. So, anyway. The girl, listen, I'm so glad we got to talk about this, and I really hope that we get to talk about something else again, because I know Ashley and I was talking about last week, we were talking about having Testimony Tuesday with our husbands. And so, yeah, I want you and Dante to be a part of that.
That's gonna get good.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna be praying into that. But yeah, I just that's something that I just kind of been sensing, like, as we've been, doing the Testimony Tuesdays. I keep seeing like this addition with husbands, and so maybe I'm pretty sure it's on my heart, because there are people, who are watching this, who are really desiring to be married or even in marriage, and just really need some perspective from people who are in a holy marriage, people who are in, and when I say holy, let me, because I know you hear that word and people be like, "Oh, what is oh?"
Holiness is beautiful. Holiness is not ugly. It's not legalistic. We made it that way.
We did. We did. Like I will.
We made
I don't know
holiness
if I can
mean
say that.
skirt seat ankles. We made holiness mean you can't wear earrings and makeup. We did that, but holiness is beautiful.
Holiness is beautiful. It just means you're set apart. That's all it means. Girl, I'm so glad you said holiness was not about skirts down to the ankles because I don't know who that was. I'm going to say it because it was so funny. Somebody said one day, it was like, y'all keep talking about holiness, them women with them long skirts, and them be the ones that'll wear your man out. Listen, but that's another conversation for another day.
That's so funny.
In the meantime, girl, thank you so much for sharing your heart. And I really do look forward to doing it again. Blessings to your business, to your marriage, like your future family. Like blessings, blessings, blessings.
Same to you, sis.
Thank
blessings
you.
To the household, them beautiful children.
Thank you, girl.
Right, I love to see young couples and young families thriving because what some people honestly need is just hope. Marriage has such a negative connotation for a lot of reasons, and we'll get into that, when we do it. But we just want to give some hope to people.
Yeah,
marriage work.
It does,
and it can be beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I'm excited. I love you so much, and we'll talk soon.
I'll see you soon, hopefully.